Hi, I'm David Saville and I'm going to be sharing with you how to release your inner potential and be great. And that is by using the 5 paths to greatness, which are falling in love with fear, becoming your integrity, being perfectly vulnerable, living an impossible dream, and being all in. These are the things that have completely changed my life, from being a guy that sits at a desk going through the motions to someone who has an incredible life coaching people all over the world. It is a thrilling ride and I can't wait for you to explore this with me.
On to this evening. Now, this is David's first time speaking at Interesting Talks. However, he has been to Interesting Talks a number of times over the years. Today, you're going to learn an awful lot about what he does and how he does it and how you're going to be able to do it in your own life. It's going to be very interactive. There's going to be lots of fun. So please give a very warm welcome to David Saville.
Thank you, Matt. Cheers. Hello. So this talk is about the 5 paths to greatness, how to release your inner potential and be great. It's a very personal talk. It's the way I live my life and also the way I help people and what I do. So I'm going to start off with an intro about myself and give you a little bit of my backstory to show how I've been unleashing my own potential. And then I'm going to dive straight into what these 5 paths are. And it's going to be very interactive. There's going to be lots of stuff that you can do, so you can actually go away and actually use this stuff in your life. That's what I want you to do. Although this is called Interesting Talks, the best thing is if you can take something and it can make a difference to you. So that's what I'm here to do. So I was trying to think actually, how can I explain the kind of potential that I've been unleashing myself? And there's a hell of a lot. I mean, I used to have social anxiety and panic attacks, for instance. So even talking to like 1 or 2 people would freak me out. I used to be addicted to drugs for about 18 years and didn't think I could ever give those up, but I did. In fact, I was such a victim at one point, I thought I was going to smoke myself to death because I didn't think I had the power to just stop smoking. That's kind of how bad I was. And that was only like 8, 9 years ago, really. In fact, back then, a day for me that was really good was when I could be at work, at my desk, tapping away on my computer, typing in information and speak to nobody. And then go home, watch TV all night, maybe smoke some dope, and that would be a perfect day for me. So not exactly setting the world alight. Since then, I've been on quite a journey since then, which has brought me here. And in fact, 18 months ago, was the last time I stood here, actually. My coach at the time, James Tripp, I don't know if any of you know him, Hypnosis Without Trance guy, he asked Matt if I could speak about a new meetup group I'd created called Switched On. It's about being present in the moment. So I had no idea he was going to do that. I had nothing prepared. I remember standing up here, freaking out. I think I zeroed in on one single person. I had tunnel vision, and I spoke so quickly and just rushed to sit down, and it was such a relief. So 18 months now, I've done quite a lot of talks, I've done workshops, I've coached people. My entire life has changed. And in fact, one of the key moments for me was in October last year, when I worked full-time. I had a full-time 9 to 5 job, and I was trying to do something called coaching, which I'll explain a little bit about in a minute. And then it came to a point, my grandma, who's 99 at the time, she'd had a fall. And I phoned up work and I said, look, I can't come in, my grandma's fallen over. And the boss says to me, have you done that letter? Not one word about her, I didn't ask how she was, nothing. And so I don't remember how the rest of the conversation went, but it just set up a moment for me that I just knew enough was enough, right? I've been wanting to leave for a long time, but I was always like in my mind, I have to create a certain amount of money to do that. But now I was like, no, that's it. I'm no longer going to be around people who don't care. That's not the environment I want to be in. And also, realistically, she's 99, so she needs more care, right? So I'm going to have to take a lot more time off. So that was it for me. There was no turning back. I think as soon as I saw my boss again, which was a week later, handed my notice in, and that was the end of that. 2 weeks later, I was out of there. So I leave there. I've got 3 weeks' money left, and because I'd actually used more holiday than I was entitled to, and I had to just make this thing work. Oh, actually, just so you know, by the way, my grandma, who's 99, in 3 days' time, it's her 100th birthday. So yeah, it's just pretty incredible she is. And my life is built around her. So I live in North London with her, and I run my business from there. So, from working for someone else who didn't care to now my entire life's built around caring. So, it's quite a beautiful thing. Now, what I actually do is coaching, but you can't really explain what that is in simple terms. It could be a trainer, it could be mentoring, it can be teaching. The simplest way is that I help people live without limits. So that could be imposed limits by other people or self-imposed limits. And I do this by video Skype, I do this in person, I do this in many different ways. In fact, the kind of weird life that I'm living right now is over the past week, I've coached 5 people all over the world: Australia, Canada, Holland, Athens and Brighton, which is the most exotic, right? All from a bedroom at my grandma's, right? How amazing is that, right? If that's not unleashing potential, I don't know what is. So that's some of my story. But I think that's enough about me. You're here to unleash your potential. So what I'd like to ask you guys is, are you open to the possibility that what you experience, what you learn here today, will actually help you begin to unleash your own potential? If you could just raise your hand if you're open to the possibility. Even if you don't believe it, fantastic. Because that's the other thing, by the way. You don't have to believe a word I say. Just don't dismiss it. You know, take it, experience it, and test it for yourself. And then you can actually find out what will make a difference for you. Because I don't know which of these 5 paths are going to be the one that you'll want to walk down. Maybe all 5. But only you can do that. And what I do as a coach is I empower people to become the authors of their own lives. And I invite you to begin doing that here. So since we were talking about unleashing potential, what would it be if you were to unleash your potential? What would that look like for you? If anyone could just tell me, if you could unleash your potential, what would that be? Anyone? Yes? You would fly over the world. Ah, fantastic. See, that's great. You've got a tangible outcome. So you can know when that's happening, right? So you can see how you'll be able to use these paths directly for that specific outcome. Now, if anyone doesn't want to share it, but if you've got a specific outcome, the more specific, the better. Because then you can actually channel this into something real, in something tangible for yourselves. So let's begin then, shall we? So who here loves fear? No? Oh, you do, almost? Yeah?
It's always nice.
It's beautiful, right? Fear is very misunderstood. I used to misunderstand it completely, and actually it's only my journey the past 1.5 years, really, that's kind of shown me what fear really is. People often think that fear is to do with flight or flight. In fact, let me ask you, what is fear? Or why, actually, better question, why do we have fear? Not confident, okay. Pardon? Self-preservation. Self-preservation, yes, definitely. Shows you your edges. Ah, yes, definitely. Anything else? Survival. Survival, yes. Conditioning, great. Now the thing is, a lot of people have a kind of idea that fear is kind of almost like it's misguided. Like, you know, the flight or fight response, you know, which is like you said, it's survival, right? And it's almost like we've evolved beyond needing to run away from mountain lions, but in our brains don't understand that. So, you know, people often think that it's a misunderstanding, but it isn't. Fear's not stupid, it's evolved with us, right? What people mistake often is that they think fear is this separate thing. Like you have to face your fear, you've got to get through it, right? Fear's got to be overcome. That's not what fear is. Fear wakes you up, fear gets you in this moment. Fear means you're not going to screw up. It means you're going to be very present to this moment. You're not on autopilot when you're frightened, are you? You're here, you're present, and you can do everything you can. Fear is your secret weapon. And in fact, I was coaching a guy only last week. He's got a big public speaking event coming up in front of a couple of hundred people. And he says, and he's been practicing every day. He's been memorizing it. He's been recording himself. You know, he wants to do an amazing job. He says, I just wish I didn't have this fear. And I said to him, okay, so if you didn't have the fear then, do you think you'd be preparing like you are? And he was thinking about it. He was like, do you think you'd actually spend hours every day making yourself this good at it if you didn't have that fear? Or do you think you maybe become complacent and then you might just show up there and just do a really piss poor job because you don't care? Now what fear was telling him was things like, are you good enough? Or are they going to care? Right? Which you can get caught up in those thoughts and just be caught up in the bad feeling. Or you can answer those questions, right? Is he good enough? No, he's never done it before, right? It's impossible. But he can prepare himself to be good enough. Are they going to care? He can't possibly know that. But he can share the most powerful messages that he has to give him the best chance of caring, right? There's loads of other essential messages the fear was giving him that he was ignoring. So, time for you guys to experience this for yourselves. So if you can get yourself into pairs, preferably with someone you don't know, because we're here to unleash our potential. And doing something that's not comfortable is a great way to begin. And get into pairs, there's going to be two, one's going to be a coach, one's going to be the client. Now, the coach is going to ask the client, tell me about a time when fear held you back. Client's job, simple, tell them about that time. Coach's job, to listen out for the lessons, to the wisdom in the fear, and then to feed that back to the person afterwards. Okay, so you may have to ask a couple of questions to get a bit more information. Does everyone understand what the exercise is? Yeah? Great. Pair up and get started. There'll be 2 minutes and then we'll swap, and I'll tell you when to swap. So, how was that? Did you all learn lessons from fear? Oh, you didn't you? Did you at least them one way?
I have one.
Yeah. But did you start to get a sense for how the messages that fear's giving you is powerful, right?
Yes.
And that you get caught up in the feeling and you don't necessarily experience the wisdom. Yeah, did a lot of you get a sense of that?
Yeah.
So if you just have a way of being, when you go around and you get the fear there, don't just think it's there for no reason. It's there to help you. It's like your best friend. It's like the most powerful thing. The most powerful force in us is fear, really. It's one of the most powerful emotions we have. Use it. A great way, as I was explaining to Matthew a minute ago, is actually take time, write down what your thoughts are saying. Even some of the terrible things that may come up have wisdom within them. Write them all down and really dive into what they're really saying. Because it's only there for you. It's not there to hurt you. It's not there to work against you. People often fight it. Think it's why I had panic attacks, because I thought the anxiety was a bad thing. So I tried to bottle it up, and guess what? It burst out, right? Because it was like fear is like a messenger, and it's got powerful messages to give you, but you don't listen to them. They get louder and louder and louder. It's why fears get bigger and bigger, and you can become more and more anxious about something, because you're just not listening to the wisdom of your own bodies, really, and your own minds. So have you got a different sense of fear now, perhaps, than you did? So let's move into becoming your integrity then. Integrity, it can be described as many things, but the way I'm talking about it here is to do with your values, the things that matter most to you in your life. So, for instance, for me, my grandma, right, that's one of the most important things in my life. Family. Love is really important to me. Growth, that fact that I'm growing and doing, every day I'm doing something that pushes my limits, that's really important to me. Having fun, messing around and being silly, that's really important to me too. Connecting with people, that's also really, really important. So is anybody else actually got any values? What sort of values you can think of, things that are important to you? Yes? Contribution. I didn't mention that, but that's actually really, really important to me too. Making a difference, right? Yes. Any others? Gratitude. Fantastic. Pardon? Freedom. Wonderful. Yeah. Actually, freedom is also really important. Yeah. It's amazing how many values there are, right? Yeah.
So I was just going to say helping or supporting people.
So having supportive people. Yeah, having around you, you mean?
Yes, also it's related to the making a difference, positive change.
Yes.
Contribution to the positive change of the world.
Yes, positive change, and contribution to the positive change of the world. Yeah. Yes. So now how this shows up, if you're not living through your values, you're not living through integrity, it kind of messes you up. I never used to live through my integrity at all. Obviously, when I was doing drugs, when I was, had anxiety, that's because I was not living to my integrity. I was coaching someone a few weeks ago. We went on this forest walk for a day where we're coaching in the forest. It's good to remove yourself from the city sometimes, to get a different environment. And she'd been having a lot of trouble at work, a lot of trouble. In fact, she couldn't sleep. She was waking up anxious in the middle of the night. She felt like life was hell to her. She was having battles at work. It was horrendous for her. As we were talking, I was teasing out what was really going on for her. It turned out, I started to ask her really what matters to her in life, what are her core values. And she started to write down this big list and all these powerful things get coming out. And then I asked her, so how many of those are you actually living through in your work? And there was like 2 or 3 out of 10. And I'm like, well, is it any surprise that you've been experiencing that? She was blatantly going against her core principles at work, and it was causing her a hell of a lot of trouble. So as soon as we labelled, she labelled those values, she started the next day living into them at work, and her entire experience changed like that. She suddenly could sleep at night. She was able to, in fact, her ability to do her job went through the roof. She wasn't wasting time with all this anxiety stuff anymore. She would tell people when they think they're not doing something right, that goes against her values, She was being much more vocal, much more living through integrity. And becoming integrity is one of the main reasons that I'm now standing here, able to move away from my job, because I said, no, that is not good enough. And I made that stand. So living through your integrity is so important. So, back to you guys. So if we can pair up again and just ask each other what your values are, what your most important values are, and just write those down. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about them. So 2 minutes and then we'll swap. Okay? Wonderful. So what was that like for you, exploring your values? Did you come up with anything maybe you hadn't connected with for a while? Things that perhaps you're not in your conscious mind? Anybody? No? Was it all there? And, oh yes.
Yeah, I was saying, what was it? Being treating others like you treat yourself, or being, having other people treat you how you treat them. And my friend here said fairness, that the value was fairness, and I thought, I didn't realise.
Fairness.
That's actually what it was.
Yeah.
I think people are fair to each other.
Yeah.
That in the way I deal with people, and the way they deal with me. So that was a little bit of a surprise to get.
Great.
To find that word to define it.
Yeah, well, that's good. Especially when you dive deep. Obviously, this is a very quick exercise, but when you dive deeper into your values, it does help you align to what really matters to you, and to ensure you're living through them. So, next step is to if everyone got a list of their values, at least the top 5 of their values. Did you get a few? How many did you get? Oh, you didn't write them down? Did no one write them down? Obviously that's my superb instructions at the beginning. Okay, well, spend the next bit then is write down maybe the top 3, and then rate them 0 to 10 of how, of your 0 being, obviously you're not living it at all, 10 being it's, you're living it every day. And then we'll come back and talk about that. Okay, is that all good? But pick someone different this time. So you're working with someone else just to break it up a little bit. Okay? Fantastic. So did you all get a good sense of your values from doing that? Did you all get stuff written down? Now, did you get anything surprising in that, or were they all things that you already knew? If they're already new, just raise your hand. Fine. Now the next step is to pick one maybe that is not in the top of your mind, something that you'd like to improve in your life, a value that inside, get someone to work with you actually. This is what the coach-client thing will be. So the coach's job is to go deeper into it, into why it matters to you and how you can improve it. So you can actually go away and do something with it. So explore something that might matter to you that you're not doing every day, and then work on what that may be, on what you can actually do from here. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So ideally pick someone else to work with as well, so you're mixing it up. And yeah, go to it. So what was that line? Did anyone come up with any surprising values? Did anyone come up with any surprises there? Any values that particularly they didn't expect to find? Yes?
I had inspiration, and that was something I hadn't consciously thought about.
Inspiration.
For a long time,
yeah. And did you come up with a way that you can actually take a practical step to bringing that into your life more?
Yeah, I did actually, yes.
Yeah? Can you share?
Yeah, it was to offer, like, I do some hypnotherapy, and then to offer that for free to certain people. And
so to offer hypnotherapy for free to certain people?
Yeah, to help them. And I think that would be inspiration, hopefully for them and also for myself.
Okay, to inspire them and to inspire you by doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah? Okay, can we give them a round of applause for that? Come on, that's a wonderful thing. Yeah. Yeah, that also links into contribution too, which I like. Yeah, anybody else? Anything, maybe it's not surprising, but something where you've actually got an action step to take? Yes?
Being fair to people, like listening to them and recognising myself that they have different opinions to me.
So being fair to people and
yeah, just listening to them and just knowing that they've got, respecting their opinions, they may be different to mine.
So respecting their opinions. So how will you do that?
I think in my spare time and at work, I would just respect, listen to them and just think what they think, and then I'm different to them.
So taking more time to listen to them.
Yeah, and just respect that their opinions are different.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing too, definitely, listening. It's a very underrated skill. Wonderful. Anybody else before we go for a break? Yes?
Being more empathic.
Being more empathic.
Yeah. Get the person's shoes, or trying to understand where that person's coming from.
Trying to understand where the other person's coming from.
Judge somebody, but actually try to put yourself in their position, look at the world from their perspective.
So when's the first time you'll get the opportunity to do that? To look at the world through someone else's eyes?
What's the first time?
Yeah, when will you do that? When will you start doing that? Right now from here. Now come on, that deserves an applause, doesn't it? So that's instant action. That's how you unleash potential, by the way. Fantastic. So we're going to go for a break now. When we come back, we're going to go into being perfectly vulnerable, living an impossible dream, and being all in. All really powerful, essential things on paths to greatness. So Matt. Thank you. So next one is being perfectly vulnerable. Now this is one of the harder paths to walk. It's one of the hardest, but one of the most valuable as well. This is essentially giving people permission to criticize you, to dislike you even, to disagree with you. I describe it as this: you're walking this path and it's a rocky road and people are throwing spears at you and it cuts deep. Now most people run away and they hide behind a rock until it heals, and then they come back out and they'll start again. Then of course someone else throws a spear at them, it cuts deep and they run behind again. And then what happens is it becomes really difficult to actually get up the confidence to step out behind that rock. Because those it hurts, right? It really hurts when someone criticizes you or says something bad. But if you really want to unleash your potential and walk a path to your own greatness, whatever that means for you, you've got to be able to keep walking. You keep getting the spears. It keeps hurting and you keep bleeding, but then you heal as you're walking. And then eventually, the more you walk, the spears get smaller until eventually they become like toothpicks, and it no longer troubles you anymore. I mean, I write articles, I record videos, sharing insights and things. And I'll tell you what, some of them are really scary. I get some of the comments I get, it's hard to hear some things that people say, even though I give people permission to do that. But every time I do that, I grow from it. Because I get to, rather than just sort of reacting to it, I sort of look at it and decide, is there value in what they're saying to me? Can I use that? And if I can use that, maybe I can grow from that. And if not, then I just discard it. It's just one of those things, right? Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to agree with you. And so this path to vulnerability, like I say, it's a difficult one, but it is profound when you do that. So as an example, I give everyone here permission to disagree with everything I say. Hope you don't, but I'll give you permission to do that and to say anything about me you want. Because that's the other thing in life, by the way, that the world is not full of everyone. Not everyone's going to like everyone. Even if there are lots of nice people, you're not necessarily going to connect with each people, right? There'll be your people. And so the more you give people who are not your people permission to disagree with you and to say things to you, the freer you become. And freedom is obviously a high value for a lot of people. So now one way I've been doing this is to share things, personal things, because one of the things that holds people back is secrets. Now, I was coaching someone a few weeks ago, and she was kind of miserable. She had a really good job, boyfriend, friends, family. On the surface, everything was good. But she was miserable in her life, and she didn't really know why. She couldn't think what was going on. So when I was talking to her, and we were exploring what was going on in her life, and it turns out that years ago, she's ill, she's got an illness, and she's had this since she was a child. But what happened was that people used to pity her and used to treat her differently, and she hated that. So she built up a way of being that pretended she wasn't ill. So she would look like anybody else and be able to do everything that everyone else does. And this was really powerful. This enabled her to do things that she shouldn't have been able to do with the illness that she had, and enabled her to be very successful in her career. You know, it's a really amazing skill that she had. But it's like she built up this heavy, thick shield around her. And as she got older, it's just like it's wearing her down. You know, it's like walking with a chain, you know, with chainmail, you know, around her, which, you know, was great as a child, but as an adult was holding her back, meant she couldn't connect with anyone. So she was essentially isolated. So when we were exploring this, and she suddenly saw what she'd been doing, it was like a veil suddenly lifted from her face. Suddenly the joy appeared in her face, and she could see what she could do. For her, it was to go and start talking openly about this illness that she had, and actually detaching from the fact whether anyone's going to pity her or not. It's not irrelevant. That's irrelevant. It's that she's free to be who she is, exactly as she is. You know, it's being true to yourself, right? And in fact, one of the greatest regrets of the dying is that they were not true to themselves. This is like a palliative care nurse. I don't know if you saw the study that went out last year. Did you see that? One of the biggest regrets is not being true to yourself. And she wasn't being true to herself because she was hiding it. So secrets can be toxic. So one of the ways to start freeing yourself is to just be open with your secrets. That's what I do. I share all kinds of crazy stuff on Facebook, probably more than I should. But I do that for two reasons. One, because it frees me, because it means that no one can go, oh, I know this about you. You know, I could tell everyone, right? No one can ever say that because I've probably already said it already. The other thing is it helps someone else along the way, because someone else might be going through the same thing. And when you share something powerful like that, it can really make a difference to them. So that's the reason I do that. And I encourage you to do the same, to start doing that. Now, I guess you can know where this is leading, right? We're heading to the bit where you get to play. And how we're going to play is literally you're going to pair up with someone, preferably someone you've not paired with before, just because it keeps it fresh. And just share one secret. It doesn't have to be, it's up to you how brave you are, like how big the secret is, but just share one thing that you wouldn't normally tell a stranger, and just do that. And then the other person, wow, you're ahead of the game. And then the other person says thank you and tells that person what it means to hear that being said. Because you don't always get that side of it, you know, what it means to hear someone share a secret like that. Now, because I always have to go first, I was thinking, what could I share? Because I share everything, right? I'm really an open book. I'm the same in private as I am in public. You know, it's no different. So what could I share that I don't share? And this is a big one. I don't talk about this. Now, when I left work, I had 3 weeks' money left. I actually couldn't pay the mortgage, right? In fact, I paid my coach instead of my mortgage, because for me, paying the mortgage was maintaining my lifestyle, paying my coach was creating my future. So I did that, but it put me in a precarious position. It meant that I had to talk to my bank and I had to talk to solicitors and stuff. It put me in a really bad financial situation. So what this means is that my mum, who's a pensioner, has had to help me financially to build my business up, which is horrible, right? My pensioner mum, I should be looking after her, but I've had to have her support, and it's been amazing. She's bloody incredible, and she's helped me do that. So that's my share with you, that, you know, I'm a world-class coach whose mummy has helped him build his business. So that's my share. Now, if you can go and get into pairs and just share one secret between you. And remember, it's very important to say thank you and to tell that person what that sharing means to you. Does everyone understand what to do? Yeah? Okay, go to it. Let's be vulnerable. So did everyone get to share their secrets? Yeah? So what was it like when you were actually sharing the secret yourself? Does anyone want to share what that was like for them to do that? It was scary? Yes?
I'm not going to say what I told my...
No, you don't have to say what you said, just how it felt, what the experience was like. Although you could go a step further if you want.
The bottom line is that actually I thought that it would be like very self-revealing, and she will be shocked or something. And she actually smiled and shared a pretty similar thing.
Yeah.
Or it was the other way around. She started sharing first, and I thought, oh, that's my secret.
Yeah. How dare you steal her secret? You did, yeah? Did a few people get that? There's very similar experiences, similar secrets. Yes?
I just thought there
Yeah.
The first thought I had was actually you probably get a huge amount of empathy and advice back.
Mm.
You know, because even just from one person, it was a weird situation because there's no context to my secret as such. You know, you don't know me at all. There's no context to take it in. But then I thought, if I did share it with this room, instead of the judgment that you think or whatever, you'd probably get a million different bits of advice from people who've gone through what you're going through.
Yeah. So sharing the secret, sharing the secret means other people connect to it too.
People love to kind of go,
Yeah.
I could help you.
Did you want to share it with the room?
Sure, why not? I don't care. No, I was just saying that I'm trying to get pregnant and it's about 6 months and it's great, fascinating insight to how little adults know about fertility.
Yeah. It just kind of happens, right?
Try all your life to know.
The practicing's fun though. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
So I thought it was quite liberating, you know, because you don't know the person, the stranger.
Yeah.
For me, it was like it's like getting naked.
Yeah.
It was great. It was just it was really easy.
Yeah. Once you do it, right, it's the thought of it that makes it worse. Once you start doing it, it's actually quite liberating, as you said. Did anyone else get the feel it was liberating too? Yeah? And what was it like for you being on the receiving end when you were hearing someone share their secret? What was that like for you? Grateful.
Well,
Yeah.
you get given almost like a gift. The person trusts you.
Yes, it is a gift.
You just share that information.
Yes. So a lot of people think of these as like burdens, you know, like sharing a burden. But actually, like you're right, it's an absolute gift to actually trust someone to share that. And for you, again, being perfectly vulnerable, it's now you're free, right? That's nothing, you know, you're no longer holding this in. It's like we often walk around with all this heavy stuff around us, but, you know, shielding us from the world. When actually, just by opening up and being free, you're more connected to the world than you could ever be. More connected to each other. And that's the thing, right? We're in a world that has been built, we're a tribal society, right? We exist because of the tribe, because we're connected. Otherwise, we'd have died out millions of years ago. And yet, where are we? We're on our phones on the train, and you can't even catch someone's eye on the train, can you? It's not impossible. To share a secret with someone you don't know is powerful for both of you. And so I invite you to walk that path of vulnerability, because, of course, falling in love with fear, it kind of goes hand in hand with that, doesn't it? Because how scary is it to think of sharing something? You know, the thought of it was the scary bit. The doing of it was actually liberating. And that's actually quite a good metaphor for a lot of things in life. The thought of it is generally 100 times worse than the actual doing of it. You know, when I couldn't pay the mortgage and I had to have those conversations, that was my worst fear, really, of leaving the job. And yet, do you know what? I talked to them and negotiated, and I didn't die, you know? And in fact, I grew because I realised that there's nothing I can't handle. And the thing is, by doing all this, you do kind of learn that there is nothing you can't handle. Unless you're dead, there's nothing you can't handle. We just don't think we can handle them. So walking the path of vulnerability, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do, as you've just had a good sense of. Now, this leads in beautifully into living an impossible dream, actually. Now, most people have dreams or goals that they think they can achieve. You know, you have a set path. I've worked with a lot of athletes, for instance, and this is very common. You know, they've got specific medals, times, specific events, right? That's a linear progression. But for a lot of them, their lives actually are not much fun. You know, they're working 24/7, they're training, they're eating, they're sleeping, that's it really. Not much time for friends or family. And what happens is, for a lot of them, they get to these things, they win the medal, and they're like, great, 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 for 20 seconds, and they're like, oh, is that it? What now? Then like, oh, the next one. And so then they've got a whole life for maybe 10, 20, 30 years is about going for the next thing. Imagine if they were, you know, if they died at any point, they would not have enjoyed their experience of their life. They would have just been going for this next goal. And we all do this, right? We often get caught up in wanting the house, the car, you know, all these external things, thinking these are things to attain, right? But they're meaningless. They don't really enrich our lives in any way. Things do not enrich our lives. So when it comes to an impossible dream, there's magic in it because it's impossible, right? So you're not attached to getting it. If you don't get it, you're not going to be miserable because it's impossible in the first place. An example for me is I actually want to coach the President of the United States one day, right? Now, who am I? I'm some guy who coaches from his grandma's bedroom, right? But that's what I want to do. I want to coach world leaders because guess what? Who needs coaching more than someone like that? Someone who tells them what they how they're seeing things, what mistakes they're making in the way they see the world. But who challenges them really, but in a really loving way? Not many people, probably no one. So I think that they could really do with coaching more than anyone. So that's what I want to do. And that's an impossible dream. It actually began for me at the beginning of the year because I thought I wanted to coach astronauts because that's exciting to me. I love astronauts. But then I moved on from that and thought, no, the president, they've got to go bigger, right? It's not impossible. I'll tell you why that was actually. It wasn't impossible enough because within 2 weeks of thinking I want to coach astronauts, I started connecting with them on LinkedIn and I'm having these conversations with astronauts. And I'm like, shit, that's actually could happen. So that's why I had to then up my game. So you've got to really, when I say impossible, you've got to keep going. But what it does, living into that impossible vision, it means I am on it, right? I'm a better coach today than I was yesterday. I'll be better tomorrow than I am today. I'm continually challenging myself, growing, learning, adapting. I'm bringing that, I'm acting as if I'm doing that already. That's the life I'm leading because I have that impossible dream. It makes me better now. Any dream you have is only good if it makes your life better, it makes you better. Because then you've got a path to walk, right? An exciting path. So if I was to die today, I've lived my life as living that dream. That's the power of an impossible dream. So now it's your turn. So get into pairs again. If there's anyone left you haven't spoken to yet, because I know we keep swapping, please find someone. I know it'll be tricky. And ask what would you love to do but seems impossible? Something that just seems, like those dreams you have as a kid, but then you kind of grow up and get real. Those kind of dreams, the crazy out there dream could be anything. And then then ask them, as the coach to the client, what does it look like? Get them to describe what it would be like to be living it. And then what is one small thing you can do to start living it now? And as a coach, you can help them to get that. To get specific on that. So, are you all good with what the exercise is? Yeah? Any questions about it? No? Then go do it. Create some impossible. So, did you all come up with impossible visions? If you just raise your hand if you did. Just one? Yeah? Yeah? Is that all? Any more? Pardon? Did you come up with your impossible vision for yourself? And did you describe it well? Did you start to flesh it out? And did you all get something that you can start doing to sort of walk that path? You did. Who's willing to share what they can start, what the impossible vision is and what they can do?
It was very clear here.
Yeah?
My impossible, hopefully not impossible vision is I want to be the female equivalent of Paulo Coelho.
The female equivalent of Paulo Coelho. Wow. Wonderful. Okay. Fantastic. Wow. And so what will you be doing to be heading towards that?
The steps. Writing every day.
Yeah?
Sharing.
So writing every day?
Yeah, sharing my stories on Facebook and blogs and things.
Sharing your stories on Facebook and blogs?
To write a book.
And learning how to write a book. Great. So, because that's quite a lot of stuff, isn't it? So are you doing any of that already?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's something different that you can do to really be living it? Something maybe a little bit, beyond what you've been doing so far.
Probably read the book I've been given about how to write a book.
Yeah? That's hilarious. Read a book to find out how to write a book. And then will you start writing the book?
Yeah. Maybe work with a coach to bring it together.
Work with a coach to bring the book together. Yeah, great. Anybody else? Come on, share some impossible visions. Inspire some people here. Yes?
I've got one. It's another book related. It's to sell 1 million copies of my book.
Ah, your book, Escape the System,
That's it.
right? To sell 1 million copies.
Yeah.
So how many have you sold so far?
As of today, 326.
So 326, but you're going for 1 million. Fantastic. So that's called Escape the System, by the way, if you want to check out his book and maybe boost his sales and get him to that 1 million. So what action can you take to make that happen?
Well, I guess I do every day. It's sort of going online, blogging, and self-promoting. So.
But obviously this is to go a step beyond, right? So whatever you've been doing to now has created what you've got happening in your life already. What's one daring thing you could do to maybe boost it in that way?
I need to get in touch with agents or publishers.
To directly seek out agents and publishers.
That would then put it on a mainstream platform where it could get that kind of sales instead of self-promoting.
Yeah, which is always going to be limited when you self-promote, right? So are you going to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, great, because they'll be coming at the end that will give dates and things specific. So I'd love to see you commit to that. Because I think your book is great, so I'd love to see that go to 1 million. Yeah, fantastic. Who else has got an impossible vision that they want to share? Come on, it's about being vulnerable, right? Come on, who else wants to be vulnerable? Come on, yes.
Okay, I work in the hotel travel industry.
You work in the travel industry, yeah?
Travel industry, and I want to run my own hotel.
You want to run your own hotel?
Yes. And yeah, hopefully, in the near future we will do that. Actually, I'm sharing this room with my close friend. So, we are talking a lot and, visualizing the place actually, with beautiful garden by the
yeah.
beach and just, having a guest around and, yeah.
So the vision is to have the hotel. Mind you, that sounds quite like a possible vision.
Yeah.
Where's the impossible part of that?
That's what I shared and
Yeah.
I know what is impossible, but
Yeah.
that's what
But actually, that's an interesting point you've raised, because possible visions are great. They're quite easy. They can become like now visions quite quickly. I was one of the guys I met for coffee a couple of months, well, last year actually, last September, a guy called Taf Rahman. He runs this thing called the Just Play Foundation. He's a really amazing guy doing a lot of incredible things. He had this 10-year plan for his life where because he's a football coach and they've got these badges they have to earn, and he had 10 years to get to this badge so he could do all these amazing things he wanted. But obviously, from talking to me, I'm like, you don't need to do, you don't need all that stuff, right? Because he was very limited into, the location of it. So within like a couple of hours conversation, he realised actually everything he wants, he can start creating. And from that moment on, he started doing all these things, travelling the world, doing amazing things, reaching out to people. So that 10-year vision became a now vision for him. And that, by the way, can happen. There's, again, if you're in conversation with people, those possible visions can happen like that. You'd be quite amazing. You need to be speaking it out, and possible becomes now, impossible becomes possible. There are no limits to what you can do except what you impose on yourself. And that I want you to really get that, because this is here to unleash your potential. Everything is closer than you could ever imagine. You just need to actually articulate it, be out in the world, heading towards it. So it's great to have that crazy destination to head to. Whether you get there or not doesn't matter, because your life's damn exciting on the way.
So it could be like, if we create this one hotel,
yes.
it could, our next goal would be create a chain.
Exactly. See, the impossible vision could be, exactly, having a whole chain all over the world, couldn't it? that rivals like the Hilton, right? In fact, you crush the Hilton. Now that's an impossible vision. There you go. Maybe it's been created right here. How exciting is it to be living in that big world, though? It's exciting to live at that level. Whether it happens or not, you're already living it now. That is the dream. Exciting, right? Wonderful. Come on, give her a round of applause for that share. Thank you. So the next one is being all in. Actually, I don't need to see it because I know what it is, right? Being all in. This is, in life generally, we're kind of half in. We maybe go to, when I go into a job, I come home, I'd be tired. I'd kind of be half in with my family because I'd be a bit knackered. I'd, maybe watch a bit of telly and go to bed. I used to live a very, not even half in for me actually, it's much less, but it's very easy to fit. Our lives are always full, aren't they? We fill them with all kinds of stuff. I mean, someone I was working with was a high achiever. Now this guy, if you looked at his achievements, you know, it'd feel like a thing like this. It's just crazy. He's like on the board of this, he runs this company. He's got so many things happening. And it looks great, but none of it is exciting to him. None of it is a passion of his. Not one single thing. And so it took a bit of coaxing, but I had to get him to start removing stuff from his life, you know, because for him, if an opportunity came up, he would just say yes to it and be doing it. You know, if something ended, he'd fill it straight away because he felt he had to be on the move 24/7, right? So his whole life really was filled with okay. Now, if your life's filled with okay, where's the space for incredible? Where's the space for amazing and exciting? It just doesn't exist. So it took a while, but I managed to get him to clear some space. And inside of that space, he then got to explore stuff, explore his passions, explore things that things that might excite him. Because you don't know what it is until you're doing it. And that started to shift things for him. Then, of course, once he's actually connected to something he's really passionate about, it's very easy to say no to the other stuff. And he's gradually removing all the stuff that's okay. So I'd like you to think about your lives, really. You know, have you got anything in your life that you're really all in with? You're fully present, you're passionate, you're in it, and you're your best self within that thing. You have got that, yes. And have you got other things where actually you kind of don't really want to be there? You know, you might be going through the motions when you're doing it. You know, mine was the job. And for me, when I left the job, I was all into just this life that I'm creating, shaped around my grandma. Being fully all into the full experience of your life it's hard to do it 24/7. But the more you do it, and the more you fill yourself with things that you love, the easier it is to clear out that other stuff. So the next exercise for you to explore, where in your life are you going through the motions? You're just showing up, you know? You might be, in fact, you know, like sometimes you come home from work and your head's still half at work. So you're maybe with your family, but your head's kind of out there. Just anything like that, when you're just tired and going through the motions. And then what can you do to embrace the moment? By the way, even if you hate your job, like I didn't really like my job, but you can become all in with that. It is possible. You can do that, but it just depends on the meaning you make around why you're there and what it means for you. But we can explore that in a minute. So where in your life are you going through the motions, and what can you do to embrace the moment? Get into pairs again, obviously coach-client. Do you know what to do now? Are you all good with that? Find someone new and explore. Yeah? Fantastic. Right, we're coming to the end now. So the 5 paths that we've talked about today, I'm just going to go through each one, just to the main takeaways. So falling in love with fear. So it's embracing the messages that fear has and not getting caught up in the feelings of it. Write it out if necessary. Share it with someone. In fact, someone mentioned to me earlier about public speaking. If you're doing public speaking and you get scared, be open to speaking it out loud straight away. It removes it straight away. So falling in love with fear, embrace it and use the messages from it. Becoming your integrity, living through your values and noticing when you're not and bringing yourself back in alignment to that. Even such a way as if you're at work and your boss asks you to do something you don't want to do, you be clear. If you have to do it because you work for them, that's fine. But you say, I disagree with you. I think this is a better way to do it. And then if they still want you to go ahead, you do it anyway. But at least you've made your voice heard. Being perfectly vulnerable. Giving people permission to dislike you, to criticize you. And not keeping secrets. You know, sharing yourself with another person to help you and to help that other person. One of the greatest paths there is. Living an impossible dream. You know, something so exciting and impossible that you don't care if you get there, but your life is so much better because you're living it now. Being all in. You know, noticing where you are going through the motions and instead of that, throwing yourself into it. You know, if you're at a job you hate, you know, of course, find yourself a new job or create your own career, but also just whilst you're there, become the best version of yourself you can be. You know, be there, grow, learn how to be better at what you do there because that impacts your life beyond that. Be all in within your lives as much as you can. Be present in this moment. So with the 5 paths, do you all have an idea of which path that you want to take right now? Just a show of hands of which path you're likely to take. Wow. Just a few of you? I'm not going to call out on you. It's okay. Don't be scared. I know I like to do that, but I'm not going to do that now. Instead, we're going to go into one last exercise for you. This is to make this stuff real, okay? Pick a path or many paths and create 3 action steps that you're going to take, 3 specific actions and the date that you're going to do them. So you actually go away and use this to unleash your own potential. You know, don't leave this as just in the room. Take it with you and make it part of your life. So get into pairs. This time, you'll be glad to know just the person next to you. Make it nice and easy. And create 3 action steps with a specific date. And then also invite you while you're doing that, exchange details with that person, because become accountable and support each other. Because on the path to greatness, who you walk with matters. So create that here. So I invite you to do that. So let's go, last exercise. Wonderful. You all seem to get really engrossed in that. Did you get your action steps written down? Yeah, just raise a hand, just so I can see who didn't do it. Shame on you. So tell me what some of your action steps are. Come on, share. Don't be shy. Pardon? Quit your job. Yeah? Sounds good to me. Is that a practical one you're going to do?
In a few months. I'm going to the real estate business.
Yeah.
I'm quite passionate about that. I want to take that to the next level.
Okay. Has anyone got any immediate action steps? Like, you know, from this, the next week, an action step they're going to take that they want to share? Yes?
So for my business idea, I want to connect with people, like in the industry.
Connect with people in the industry, yeah?
Advice.
Yes.
And then create maybe, like basically contact this, or I can contact this person.
Yeah.
This person can help me.
And so when are you going to do that?
From now.
From now. Fantastic, right? Now that's an action step. No, don't waste any time. Anybody else? Yes.
So I've been sort of slacking on one particular project at work, mainly because I will want to change professions or start my own business at some point.
So you've been slacking at one particular project because you're kind of going to go somewhere else, right? So you've been slacking on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so my thing was like being all in. So I want to be able to extract as much as possible or get the best from my position.
Yeah. You want to get the best out of your position?
Yeah, while I'm there.
Yeah.
So I want to take a more proactive approach, and I start that tomorrow.
Fantastic. Starts tomorrow. That's a great action step. And again, who you are in every moment of the day matters. It bleeds into every area of your life. You can't be someone in one context and someone else in a different context and expect it not to mess it up badly. So if you can, again, if you're being half in, be fully into your life. Your life is happening every moment of every day and you get the chance to do that. So that's the end. So again, I did mention briefly about sharing contact details. I do encourage you to do that with people because when you've got people to share it with, it just makes the journey so much easier for you. So I invite you to do that with each other, maybe to as many people as you can, really. The more the merrier. So if any of you would like some support in unleashing your greatness, there's a Facebook group that you can ask to join, which I've just created, which is a small group of people, again, walking their own path to greatness. I share videos, insights, things that affected my life and the life of people that I work with. It's all there for free, so if you want to join that. And it's a great way to get to support each other too. So you're welcome to do that. And also, I've got a project to unleash greatness in 1,000 people. You know I like these impossible dreams, right? These big ones. It's where I'm actually spending 2 hours by video Skype with each person. It's a no-fee project, by the way. I spend 2 hours by video Skype, and during that, I help them see how they can start unleashing their greatness. Then they follow up with me for weeks after to make damn sure that's happening. So if you'd like to apply for that, you can email me there at david@davidsaville.co.uk. I'd be happy to explore that with you. So that's the end now. So you've got your 5 paths. Now go walk your path to greatness.